Hidden deep in the heart of DuPage County, Illinois, where one would least expect, lies one of the Forest Preserve District's best-kept secrets, a magical place called Danada, where people can go to escape from the hustle and stress of everyday living. Conveniently tucked just beyond the intersection of Butterfield and Naperville Roads in Wheaton, Illinois, it is easily accessible to all of Chicagoland. Danada is a property rich in the history of one man's vision of building the American dream. Dan Rice was born on March 3, 1896 in Chicago, where he grew up and attended grammar and high school before attending DePaul University and the University of Notre Dame for a short time. He then enlisted in the U.S. Army in June of 1918, and after a short time in officers' training school, he returned to Chicago just after World War I ended. Dan immediately went to work at the Chicago Board of Trade for a commodity brokerage firm, and soon became a member of the Board of Trade as a speculator in the commodity pits. He was very successful, and soon established his own brokerage firm known as Daniel F. Rice & Company. His business grew, and in 1930 his firm moved to the Board of Trade building, and eventually the company grew to 200 employees with offices in New York City, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Indiana, Iowa, and other locations across Illinois. His company's services were divided equally between commodities and securities. Dan was a senior partner in the firm until it merged with Hayden Stone and Company in 1959. About the same time that Dan began working at the Board of Trade, he met Ada Boosman, who was a telephone operator in a building next door. Ada was born on June 13, 1898, and grew up in Danville, Illinois. They fell in love and were married on April 22, 1920, at St. Sebastian Church in Chicago. And 8 years later, they adopted a 5-month-old boy and named him Daniel Francis Rice, Jr. Through his success as a commodity trader, it seemed natural that Dan would become interested in agriculture and farming. Consequently, in 1929, the Rices purchased 152 acres of farmland between the cities of Wheaton and Naperville, Illinois. The Rices named their new estate Danada, a combination of their first names, Dan and Ada. Over time, Dan purchased several surrounding properties, which increased the size of his estate to a total of 1,350 acres. Danada Farm raised a variety of crops and livestock, including corn, soybeans, and wheat, sheep, hogs, cattle, chickens, and turkeys, and there was even an apple orchard. In 1939, Dan and Ada built a 19-room, 2-story brick mansion. The main floor had a living room, dining room, library, kitchen, office, and storage rooms. Upstairs, there were 4 large bedrooms plus a smaller bedroom for a nanny. The basement included a bar area, a billiard room, wine cellar, dance floor, laundry room, and 2 changing areas for the large swimming pool located outside. The Rices were socially active and hosted many parties. World-famous jockey Willie Shoemaker was often a weekend guest at the Danada estate and played golf with Dan and Naperville's Judge Win Knock. They were also good friends with many people in California. Among them were 3 nationally known celebrities: Hollywood actor Don Ameche, comedian, actor, singer Jimmy Durante, and a pianist named Liberace. Don Ameche owned several racehorses, and over time, Ada became fascinated with the sport of horse racing. In 1943, she expressed to Dan how exciting it would be to own some racehorses of their own, and before long, Dan bought Ada 8 thoroughbred racehorses at the November tent sale at Keeneland Racetrack in Lexington, Kentucky. Ada's new horses were so fast that 7 of the 8 won races, and Ada was officially hooked. Following the early successes of Ada's 7 winners, the Rices became formally involved in the sport of thoroughbred racing. She named her stables the Ada L. Rice Racing Stables. In the mid-1940s, the Rices added a 26-stall Kentucky-style barn to the Wheaton farm. The barn was ultra-modern, boasted a full-time veterinarian, and an X-ray machine. A half-mile oval racetrack was constructed west of Naperville Road, along with a starting gate, buzzer, and bell to acquaint the horses with the sounds of racing. In 1947, the Rices purchased a second farm just outside of Lexington, Kentucky. It, too, was named Danada. Since the Rices lived here in Chicago, they decided the racing stables would be located at the Wheaton, Illinois farm, and the breeding stables at the Lexington, Kentucky farm. In their heyday, the Danada farms had as many as 65 horses in training, and another 65 brood mares, foals, and stallions. Overall, horses bred by the Ada L. Rice stables won 2,310 races and earned over $13 million. Standing out among the many triumphs of Danada's champion horses was the winning of the 1965 Kentucky Derby. Lucky Debonair, Ada's pride and joy, was the winner, with jockey Willie Shoemaker in the saddle. Lucky Debonair won that race that day in 2 minutes 1 1/5 seconds, the third fastest horse to have run that race thus far in the 91 years of the Kentucky Derby. It is certainly no surprise that Mr. Rice became partners in 3 racetracks: Arlington Park, Washington Park, and Hialeah. When you visit Danada, be sure to stop and see the memorial dedicated to Lucky Debonair. Dan and Ada were active supporters of civic causes, and in 1947 they established the Daniel and Ada L. Rice Foundation, known today simply as the Rice Foundation. They have left an enduring legacy, as shown by a myriad of contributions to medical, cultural, educational, and civic institutions throughout the Chicago area. Dan Rice died in 1975, and Ada died 2 years later, without leaving a will disposing of their property. The land became the center of attraction for developers as a prospective site for potential commercial and residential development. Local residents swiftly formed a drive called Save the Rice Farm, which persuaded the Forest Preserve District to acquire 764 acres of the homestead property for $21 million. The Save the Rice Farm group of nearly 200 volunteers was incorporated as the Friends of Danada in 1986. The Friends of Danada helped generate many of the ideas for development and provided much of the volunteer labor needed to restore the property, which included a restoration of the deteriorating mansion, the stables, the paddocks, the landscaping, and the racetrack. In 1983, a learn-to-ride facility, now known as the Danada Equestrian Center, was opened on the property. It is owned and operated by the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. The center welcomes visitors of all ages, offering riding lessons, horse care, educational and recreational enrichment programs rooted in Danada's unique equine heritage. The Danada herd consists of over 25 horses of various breeds. More than 130 volunteers assist with the daily operations at the center, along with a very small staff of full-time Forest Preserve employees. The Danada Forest Preserve is open to the public daily, from 1 hour after sunrise to 1 hour after sunset. Danada House is available for formal receptions, meetings, showers, parties, and other catered functions. The main floor of the mansion is available for public viewing on the second Sunday of each October during the Friends of Danada Nature, Art, and Photo Show. The Danada Forest Preserve is one of the most beautiful and rewarding public facilities in DuPage County. You are welcome to come and walk through the historic 26-stable Kentucky-style barn, greet the horses, walk the trails, visit the racetrack with its original starting gate, and drop by the fabulous gardens surrounding the Danada House. There truly is something for everyone here at Danada. So come experience the magic